Okay, so we're officially starting now. Officially. Who's excited? Who's excited? Excited. I am excited as well. And before we know it, this room is going to be filled up because we're getting admissions in by the numbers. But not to waste time because we have so many grounds to cover today. And Joe is fired up, like I said before. Amazing, amazing. Kish is trying to speak. Do you have your hand raised? Okay, so my name is Bolutife Awakan, and I'm a brand designer and strategist. I, you know, I do my best. My friend, when you ask him what do you do, he say I do my best because he just does a lot of things, But I do my best. I work with brands. I help make brands better. I craft narratives. Um, but I'm also a designer with about 9 years of experience. I'm doing my best in that area as well. Trying I'm trying to do what I can for my clients all the time. I also work in an organization where I lead the brand and design team. So everything goes good, right? So today we have Mr. Joe in the building. Joe Omeiza is a personal friend of mine. I know I stress him out a lot, but he's someone that I respect a lot. And then I'll just tell you a quick story. So when I and my team were putting together this program, I wanted to like, okay, who should we invite first? So last week on the newsletter, I mean last month on the newsletter, we had shared that we wanted to talk about logo, ideation, concepts, for many people who I mean, often find or struggle with that aspect. And then I remember Joe is there, my friend. He's always like available for most of these things. There was a time like I'd had an issue with a project and I just reached out to him. And it's not the first time. It becomes a norm because when you have someone that has superpowers of creative ideations, you just know that you're good to go. And then I just jump on this call with Joe and just told him, so this is the challenge I have, oh, and this is what I've done so far. Oh. I just want to pick your brain, oh, and things like that. And then Joe comes up and says, tell me more about it. Let's jump on the call. And then we jump on the call. And just as we were dropping off the call, just barely 30 minutes in, like briefing him and all that, just barely dropping the call. He had sent me a picture with some sketches he was already making while we were on the call. And I was blown away because I just thought, okay, okay, now this is interesting, right? And because of that, well, it looked so good. And he said, oh, can I? Yeah, why not vectorize it? And the next day, he sent me like even more options. Like, this guy is a beast, no doubt. So he's someone that and eventually, right, the clients actually liked his ideas, and they were like, yeah, nice, nice. So he got me very closer to my goal. And this is to say that we don't always have to have everything figured out, right? I'm just sharing my vulnerability as well. So we don't have to have it all figured out. There are times that you need someone to reach out to. So find somebody that is your Joe, I can help you figure some things out. That's very important in our creative business. Sometimes you get stuck and all that. So while we have tried to while away some time so that we can actually have more people join us, I hope that this room is enough for everyone. But if it's not, we're streaming to YouTube, so you can also share the link. I'll share with um you you guys in chat box. Once the room is filled up, if you have your friends who had registered and couldn't get in, please kindly share the links with them because Joe is on fire. Now, you might be wondering, so who is this Joe person? Who is this Joe? For people who do not exactly know him, he's a fantastic designer with over 7 years of experience professionally doing design. He specializes in logo design and He also has a deep passion for 3D art and modeling. If you follow his Instagram page, you already know that he's a superstar at that too. Like Joe will take you through his process of creating a tire. There was one particular project. He created a tire in Blender and used it on a particular project that I really loved. I was like, no, this guy is not. It's not. We're not all the same, right? So his career spans diverse industries, including print, entertainment, oil and gas. So he has money too. I'm sorry, no, I didn't mean that. And e-commerce. Currently, he's a senior designer at Jumia. Woo, woo! And he plays a vital role in creating visual assets and identities for their campaigns that generates over $30 million in GMV. GMV is generated monthly, something, something, right? The core principle of Joe's logo design revolves around creating logos that are simple, that are bold, that are distinct, and are timeless. So if your hands are not too busy, your virtual hands and your physical hands, they're not too busy, I'd like you to give a very warm welcome. A We're going to give a brand easy welcome to to Joe Omeiza, who is going to take us for the next 2 hours on ideating and logo design, how to create concepts from scratch, how to go about the process, and the techniques that he uses. So give it up, give it up, give it up. Woo, woo. We're not ready to have you, Mr. Joe, but
Oh, this wine is
the mic is.
crazy. This wine is crazy.
No, but everybody
Ah,
knows I'm not whining you, know.
don't say to your,
Everybody
don't say
knows
to your,
that.
that's crazy.
Your
First of
reputation
all,
precedes you. The work they did, evidence they choke.
I really want credit for the way you pronounce my name. You actually got that correctly for the first time. You said Omeiza, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
okay, close to Omeiza.
Yeah,
That was really
I used to have a friend who bears the name, so I know very well.
full disclosure. The reason why I
Yeah,
was getting concepts to you that fast
yeah.
was because I was also a fan of your work. I kind of wanted to be in that circle too. I have seen you do amazing
Whoa.
at brand space, and I was like, okay, Bolu reaching out to me. Okay, I'm feeling that. Let me see this opportunity to actually show what I can do, and I really, really appreciate you for this. This is amazing, amazing.
Woo! We're so excited to have you. And full disclosure too, Joe is a very modest person. So please, you guys, help me hype him well. Hype him well because he likes to hide. I've told him you're my
Yeah,
friend, no hiding here again. So yeah, see all the accolades and flowers, all for you. So it's all left to you now. I've handed over to you.
it looks like I'm not able to share my screen. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Let me fix that immediately. I think we'll have to give you sharing access, but you should be able to though. Okay, let me make you.
So, guys, it's going to be a very long one today. It's going to be very, very technical, and I personally had to make it that practical because there were just a lot of like techniques I wanted to show. There were a lot of stuff that I've learned over the years that I wanted to share with you guys. I've always thought about ways to put that into like a reel, but I've not really had time to get around it. But I think today's the opportunity to put all of these out there. If you are close to a pen, it will be great. If you are close to a notepad, like it will be great to like put all these things down. I know Polly is also recording, so you can always get back to these videos. But I think like putting things down helps you commit things to memory better. So I promise it's like going to be like information packed. I've been working on this for a while.
Joe, could you try to share again?
I don't even have access to the button. I don't have access to the
Oh,
button. Yeah.
that's crazy though. Could you drop off and come back in? Let's see if it
Let me do
changes.
that. Let me do that. Bolu, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see it now?
All right, see, I got it. It's actually working
All
now.
right.
All right,
Awesome.
guys, kindly confirm you can see my screen, Bolu.
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm really, really excited to be doing this. This is the very first time I'm doing this, and it's something I've always wanted to do. And when Bolu presented me with this opportunity, I was like, I really had to go all out to like take the opportunity and all of that. I'm going to be talking about a topic that I'm really passionate about. It's something that I really hold dear close to me, and it's something I've decided I'm going to do for a very, very long time. So it's logo design and just how to come up with concept, how to ideate, how to iterate faster for people like the studio and agency space. You know that you really need to move fast in those kind of spaces. So it's about 20 slides. I'm going to get through all of them. And you'll notice like at some point in the slides, I'll be making some doodles. I'll be highlighting certain things just so you know where I am on the slide, right? I'm just quickly going to go to the next slide. So the things we're going to go through today is just going to be like a little agenda right here. I'm going to give a brief introduction about myself because I don't want to think like everyone knows me here. I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. By the way, I see a lot of my people in that chat. Let me just give a quick shout out, Bulu. I'm sorry. There are a lot of people that have supported me in this posting journey that I need to give a shout out to. I see Benedict. I see a lot of avatars that I actually recognize out here. I see Martins, my guy. Um, Enna is here. I see Favor, a lot of persons that I just see posting amazing work on Instagram. Kish, shout out to Kish. I see Lukman here. Man, I really want to shout out everybody. Posty is here too. Um, yeah, shout out to everybody that is here, making out time on a Friday evening when you're supposed to be bubbling outside. You're here, 7 o'clock. Let's just lock in, let's just learn, share knowledge and stuff. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction about myself. It's not going to be long, even though I want it to be long, but then we don't have so much time. Then I'm going to just talk about logo design a bit, what my definition of that looks like. And then I'm going to give what defines a lot of my taste and perspective, a lot of my influences in logo design. Then this is where the meat and potatoes of the matter is, like form making techniques. And we're going to touch a little bit on the practical of that. But for this form making techniques right here, this was developed by a designer called Richard Bird. I have followed him closely for a very long time. Excellent, fantastic designer. And he is the owner of Logo Archives. If you know that Instagram page, it's called Logo Archives. Great guy, right? So I learned a lot of this technique from him. And for this right here, these are my own technique. We're going to touch on that next. These are my own techniques, and they are techniques that I've been gathering for like say 2 3 years, and they kind of help me push in logo design further. So I get to a point sometimes and I feel like, okay, I can actually take this further. These are like technique I just quickly run through and we'll just conclude and all of that. So my intention with this presentation is really to just open you guys to new possibilities in logo design, just get you in a different bag to where, okay, you have this technique in your tool bag, on your toolkit, you can pull at any time and just get out of creative blocks and iterate a bit further, right? I'm just going to quickly go to an introduction. It's not going to be a long one. I want to get to the technical part really fast. My name is Sani Joseph Omeiza. I like to be called Joe. I respond better to Joe. And I'm a logo designer and I'm also a 3D artist. I've been doing that for 7 years right now. And currently I'm a designer in Jumia. As a kid, I was really curious with like creative stuff, just normal curiosity, not all that crazy curiosity in terms of like, just wanting to know how things work. I wasn't that kind of kid that would want to take down a television and put it back. No, I just wanted to know how things work, right? But that curiosity led me through stages of like trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. So right after that stage, I think when I was like 14, I picked up music production and I did that for a very long time. Like, I don't think there was a thing that I wasn't. I was a music producer, I was a DJ, I was a card magician. I was a video. I did a lot of things just to figure out what it is I'm really, really passionate about and what it is I want to do in the long term. And at one of those stages, I landed on logo design. And kudos to my father, he exposed us to a lot of things that that sparked all of those things. Like sometimes we just bring in a generator repairer and say, "Yo, you guys should go and see what he's doing out there." We'll bring in a barber and say, "Go and look at what he's doing out there." So a lot of my earlier stages in design are just trying to figure out what I really like. A huge part of that early stage was like music production. That's why sometimes on my Instagram or Twitter, you see me talking about music a bit more than I should talk about logo design. That is where that stems, right? So I'm just quickly going to go down to this. Right after NYSC, this was my very first paid job. I worked in editorial. I did a lot of magazine kind of designs and all of those stuff, right? And this was the first time that someone gave me a monthly compensation and say, take this whooping amount, 10,000 naira for your monthly compensation as a designer. It was the first time I got paid. I was excited about it. It was a truckload of work, but I was still able to like get through it and all of that. But then working in editorial, that was in Festac back then, they exposed me to the club scene in Festac. So I worked with a lot of PROs, a lot of club owners, and I created just a boatload of club flyers, right? Like you can literally wake me early in the morning. Yo, we need to come up with something for Ballers night or any kind of night, right? And I'll be able to put that together. That is somewhere I know that's a bag I know that I can always tap into to create stuff. So right here, I also like just being a music producer. I was always in the studio, so I created, music cover art for artists. And during my free time, I tried to, create personal projects on Instagram and also create 3D art on YouTube. What I do with my 3D art on YouTube, I try to teach 3D art in order to just be better at 3D. At the end of the day, my big goal is I really want to be an art director, and it's not that kind of art director that I'll just sit back and tell someone that is doing the work, do it like this. I also want to be in the weight with it. I want to kind of, be like Bolu. Bolu is like a brand strategist, but then she's also, when it gets pixel for pixel, she'll also give it to you, stuff like that. At the end of the day, I want to be that. I want to be able to have a vision for a project. I want to be able to like, you know, put together the team that will handle that project. I want to be able to like get people to also buy into that vision. I want to be that kind of art director that's able to like speak to a lot of different design field. And also I want to be able to give value, right? Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to tell people what I know. I want to be able to like teach and all of those stuff. And that's why I took this. When people reached out to me regarding this, I was like, okay, this is a big opportunity to do this. Sorry, I'll be talking a little too fast because I have a lot to cover. So I believe it's recorded, so you can always come back to it and stuff like that. I'm just quickly going to go to the next slide. Some key brands I have worked with, right? And I said key brands because these brands hold very key design moments for me. The first one is MRS, right here. MRS hold a very special place in my heart because this was the first corporate space that gave me an opportunity to design. And I did this for like 4 years. Throughout those 4 years, I worked with very, very special people, likes of Lovett. I worked with Michael to create amazing, amazing design in this space. And most of what design looks like in MRS right now, we laid those foundation earlier. Like this right here I was given an opportunity to create this. This was like in 2D. I would just have like image of the station and create solid to just fill those things out and create this concept of the station. The chairman at the time liked it, and this was implemented nationwide across. This was, like I said, MRS hold a very special place in my heart. Like a lot of my primary learnings, a lot of like trying to create functional design happened in MRS. A lot of like even trying to learn 3D. There are days I will stay over in the office and try to like grind it out just to be a better designer. So just by extension in working in MRS, I was also seconded to Best Staff. This is also another company, it's kind of associated with MRS. And we also work on a lot of product stuff right here in Best Staff. And this brand right here, After Change, I don't know if you guys know all those clients that reach out to you and say, yo, I need a logo. And you just, okay, um, humbly just ask them for their budget, and they say like an exorbitant amount for the logo project. And I was like, okay, you really think of me like that, right? So this was the first client that gave me like something crazy for a logo. And I think from there, that was when I realized I really wanted to do this, right? So right here, I worked with Domino's. I got a lot of quality feedback from the C-suite. This was part of the first time like I started like, being exposed to the value of design in a way, those big guys thinking of design and how it actually impacts the business and stuff like that. And currently, I'm a senior designer in Jumia, where I create marketing materials to aid the marketing efforts in the company, right? So as a senior designer too, we also have the responsibility to uphold the brand guideline of the company and make sure it's adhered to strictly, right? I'm just really going to go to the next slide. I think after this, I'm just going to go next. So these are some of my former works. Right after school, during NYC period was when I worked on some of this. These are very old projects when I was still like an amateur. And I was a member of NCCF. So at the time, I was given a position that was called the publicity secretary. So inherently, I just took over the whole design responsibility and communication. At the time, the work, they were perfect. I felt really good about these designs, you know. But then it was just a stage where I was using to like learn and just not just offer the service to like the people there, but also work for God in a way, you know. And right after that was when I worked in editorial, worked on a lot of different magazines. And I think what this stage taught me was really software efficiency, how to work with Photoshop better, how to just be in tune with the software, build all those muscle memory that you don't need to think about what you're pressing to actually make things work. So this was this stage right here, working in editorial. And then the club scene. I have censored a lot of things for our young people that are here. But to be honest, it's something I can just, it's really not hard, you know, for me because I've done it a lot. I had like 5 clubs I was working with at the same time trying to create designs, you know. And right here was some music covers I did for some artists. These are very old designs, like I said. These are some old logos too that I've done in the past. I had to dig through the hard drive to get all of these things, right? So I'm just quickly going to go to this. And sorry, my definition of logo design is not a new definition. It's a definition that is out there, but I saw it one time and it really resonated with me. What I think of logo design is really like a symbol, an icon, it's just a little jewel that communicates the essence of your brand or your business. It identifies what you do just almost in a very, very short period of time. And that is what I try to achieve with every logo I do. I try to keep that definition close to me so that whenever I'm working on logo, that is what I'm trying to achieve, you know. And I personally believe that the more abstract the logo is, the better it is at communicating what you want the logo to communicate, right? So the thing with logo designers, we feel like what we create in the moment is actually going to communicate the whole song, is going to communicate the speed and everything we want it to communicate in the moment. But the thing is that that meaning is gathered over time. Your logo is like a vessel, it's just going to be there in the beginning, and while the business is running, it gathers those meaning over time. So what I'm doing as a designer is optimizing that shape to make sure it holds all those welcoming feeling you're trying to communicate. It holds all those other things you're trying to communicate in the logo, right? Like what defines the meaning of your logo is mostly in the customer experience, it's mostly in how good the product is, stuff like that. That is what now eventually gives meaning to your logo. So your logo gathers meaning over time, and that's what I've gotten to understand. So some design principles that I try to follow on each design project is that my logo has to be simple. Simplicity is the bedrock, is the cornerstone of everything that I create. And for the most part, I try to make sure that it's flat, it's 2D, it's easy to reproduce. And the beautiful thing about simplicity is that it makes the work easy to remember. It makes it memorable. And in this day and age where we need to like produce for a lot of different mediums, we need to produce what would work on print, what to work on screens, what to work on AR, VR, so many different mediums to cater to. We have to make sure that like, or I have to make sure that it's simple. At least that's what I believe. That's my own personal design philosophy. So like simple logos will also help you to reconfigure to like different forms. I'm going to scroll up right here to an example that I have. Very famous logo. Everybody knows this logo. This is the Apple logo, right? Just imagine the Apple logo had like an LGBTQ kind of rendering, like had the rainbow kind of thing. It will be really, really hard to reconfigure into all of these different kind of styles, into all of these different kind of renderings. It will be very, very difficult, right? Because you have already defined it with the LGBTQ thing. So I try to make sure that whatever I'm creating has a very, very simple rendering to it. It's black, it's white. I just have few brand colors and I carry it from there, right? That is the first brand philosophy or design philosophy I follow when creating logos. The second is it has to be confident, it has to be bold. Like when you see it, it speaks to the credibility of the brand. It actually gives you a confidence that whatever interaction you want to have with the brand is going to be genuine, it's going to be real. A lot of like the first impression that we have with brands are carried by the logo. We might not know, but the thing is that we make judgments based on logo. You want to put your credit card details on the platform. If the logo is looking gimmicky to you, I don't think you are going to be confident about putting your logo on that platform. And that is what the logo does for you. Like that first impression to just get people into your platform is really carried by the logo. And I try to make sure that boldness and that confidence is not just in the logo, it's also passed on to the consumer also. I try to make sure that that cadence is there a lot of the time. Like you can see it on my entire Instagram page. There's a particular cadence to them. I try to make sure it's really bold, right? And then distinctiveness is something I drive for. It's something I go for a lot of the time. Very, very hard in this day and time. Very, very difficult to get unique logos because the space, there's just a lot of things going on. And you'll be surprised that you produce something beautiful in a cubicle. You come out, search Google, search Yandex, and you see that someone has done it. But the thing with distinctiveness is that I try to define distinctiveness in a particular industry. I'm not trying to figure out cross functionality with another industry. If I'm building for like an automobile industry, how unique is that logo in the automobile industry? If I'm building for health and beauty, which I already do, how unique is it in that space, right? So that's for distinctiveness. And next is timelessness. The logos I create have to be timeless. Like that is why I'm creating these things. Like I want to be able to see these later and still have the refreshing feeling that I had when I was creating it. I want to be able to like leave Earth and these things still hold water. These things still actually do the job they are made for. And the thing about timelessness is that in order to achieve this thing, we have to try as much as possible not to depend on trends, not to depend on techniques, not to depend on technologies, not to depend on like gradients. Like you see, sometimes you try to give certain logos the aggressiveness and the strength that they need from like embossing it. The distinctiveness of the logo shouldn't depend on all those technologies and techniques. Because in order to achieve like a timeless logo, you really, really have to like figure out ways to communicate those things without depending on all those trends in order to create a timeless logo. I'm just quickly going to go to the next slide. Where to get ideas, how to get ideas for your logo project. For me, I try to just focus on one clear and understandable idea to communicate. When you try to go beyond like two, it becomes so much, it becomes really gimmicky. And one of the places I look into is the brand name. There's a lot of drill in just trying to look at the brand name, seeing how you can move things around, seeing if you can research the brand name to see if there's like some visual things of some motifs that you can pick from there. Also, looking at the vision and mission of the brand is important. You can get some drills from there. When Bolo was working, she told me about the vision of the brand, and that was where I was able to get some ideas for us to actually work on that particular brand. Another way to actually get ideas is from the brand purpose, right? When you already have the brief, it's very, very important to be thorough with the brief. Like, we just feel like if we just go through certain words and pick certain things, we'll be good. Like, each logo project is an opportunity for you to be an expert in a particular field. So consume that brief like your life depends on it. There's just a lot of gem in brief that we tend to overlook. And another thing that we tend to overlook is mind mapping. Mind mapping, in my personal opinion, I feel like it's an art that is beginning to go away. I feel like we should go back to that. You know, there is just a lot of unique ideas that you can generate from mind mapping. This is a mind mapping here. If you don't know what mind mapping is, it's just generating ideas, generating connection from the base brand name. You know, and it's just a way to create interesting overlaps between, you know, certain things in the brand that you won't even see ordinarily at surface level, right? So I have an example here, Meteorical Records. It's a personal project I have on my Instagram page, but I just want to use that as an example to explain all of these things. So Meteorical Records is like a record label company that gives independent artists, you know, the tools they require to excel and stuff like that. So just from that brand name, I was able to like derive a brand concept or a concept statement, growth. So all that I was just trying to create around that idea was just trying to communicate the concept of growth. And that is all you need. Like, you don't need more than one. You just need one. Pick one and just communicate that one. That's the idea of this thing. And you discover that from the brand name, Meteorical Record, the name is derived from the word meteoroid. We know what this is, meteoroid right here. That's where the name is derived from. And just from the brand name, we have been able to create something that an icon that looks like a meteoroid right here. Secondly, from the vision and mission, we see that, okay, these people want their artists to excel and rise and grow. So we also have that secondary motif of growth right here. You also see it in the logo. Let me just remove that so you see the logo clearly. And then that is also tied to the brand purpose also, you know, and just being able to focus on that idea. You don't know like the amount of concept you can create on growth. You might think like there is limited options because there's a lot of designers out there, but if you just dig deeper, it is still there. So from the logo concept, you can see there's a meteoroid right there. And if you look also, there's also like a vinyl record in the logo. I'm just going to go to the next slide. I'm going to talk about my influences and its history a little bit. I feel like this mood board right here defines my style. This mood board right here defines what I like, what I enjoy, what I feel like logo design should look like. Probably not for all industries, but for industries that like accept this kind of logos. If it's not this bold, Joe is not there. If it's not this confident in terms of the cadence, Joe is not there. Like, if you look closely, you notice that there are some techniques that are happening right now, but you won't notice because I probably have not opened up to these form making techniques to you guys. But in subsequent slides, you would see them and you'll be able to recognize them. And that's just the aim that I have with this talk. I want you guys to be able to recognize these techniques when you see them. Like, you will see them a lot more now that you've mentioned them, right? So I'm just going to talk about the origin of this. No, I shouldn't. I think we have a lot to get to. I will go over to the next slide right now. Form making techniques. This is the important part. This is the part where you need your pen, you need your book, just to jot certain things down. And form making techniques, they are already studied methods that we use to create unique logo forms. Now, I'm not the one that created all of these techniques. I am not the one that created this list. I got it from the designer that I mentioned earlier, right? I got it from Richard Bird. So the thing is that all of these techniques are used by logo designers in the 60s and in the 70s, but someone created a list and made it more concise. And when we begin to go through each of them, you begin to realize, oh, I've seen things like this before. I've seen things like this before, right? The thing is that you don't have to use one of this technique in isolation. You can always combine two different ones to create one. You can just combine number 5 and number 7 to create one. We have figurative, we have typographic techniques, we have dynamic lines, we have translational, we have rotational, we have repetition and tessellation, and we have negative space. I'm just going to go to the first one. The first one that we have is figurative. Now, this figurative technique involves like just being able to create simplified forms of real life figures. As humans, we already know what an airplane look like. We already know what a tree look like. So this technique just, it lays into our bias as humans because we already know what these things look like. All we need to do is just create a little form that looks like that. And as humans, we are already making those relationships. We're already making those connections. Like for this, you can see this is for like a lumber company right here. And you'll see that, okay, in its simplest and simplest of form, it looks like a tree top right here. And it looks like the trunk of a tree right here. And you can also see that there's a secondary motif in this. You can also see business growth because there's a nurturing factor to it. It goes from like a small tree to a bigger tree. So you can also see that as a secondary motif. You can also see that there's a business growth aspect to it with the upward arrow. So all of these things helps you explain what the brand does, but the more nuanced level. Again, I tried to say in the beginning that my logos are trying to identify. I'm not trying to explain. So all of these things is going to gather meaning over time. Right here, you would see that these are figurative stuff. This is like an airplane, but you don't see the cockpit. You don't see the windows. It's just like really simplified forms. This right here is logo for Spa, and you can just see the tree and the circle around it. And this right here is just really more unique ways to like make a tree for a lumber company. Now, I just want to just give a little bit of context. For every logo you see right here, I have the credit of the company and the industry it's in. But for the ones where you don't see any credits, those are my own personal works that I created with the technique. So I'm just going to go through them and I just wanted to let you guys know so that you are able to like know all of these things as I'm running through the slide. So for this right here is for like a flower company, and you see the flowery shape already. You don't need to have those leaves. You don't need to have the veins in it. You don't need to have all those many flourishes and embellishments. All you need to do is replicate the basic form of the flower with basic geometric shapes. For this right here, this is for like a gym, right? And if you look closely, you would see that, okay, there's a little person there, maybe not person, but you would see there's a little flex right there in the logo. And that's just the idea. You just have to just capture the basic form of the arm with simple shapes, and you're able to create interesting logos. Maybe you're not seeing the tension I'm seeing there, but if I increase or move this to the side a bit, maybe you'll see the flexing a bit more in the logo. And that is what we're trying to do. Like for gym brands, we might start to think of dumbbells and all those things, but there's another way to replicate this thing. And if you look closely again, there's a secondary motif of like an H right here. There's an H in this logo, right? So I'm just going to go to the next technique. The next technique is typographic, and that's just creating the basic idea of a brand in a type, like combining type, using geometric forms and types to like create the idea of the logo, right? For this is for like a rail line or a transport company, and you see that they have just brilliantly combined the rail track with another one just to create the letter S. And lucky enough, the brand name starts with the letter S. So everything works perfectly. And for this is for like a newspaper company. This is for like a drilling company. And you just see how they combine a P with a downward arrow. For this drilling company, you don't have to like put in the whole drilling teeth and all those things for people to like make that connection, right? You just need a downward arrow and it's already working, it's already going. And same applies to this. Oh my God, that's crazy. But let's continue. I feel like, can you guys still see me? All right, Bolu, thanks for the hand signal. I'm just going to go to the next technique. Dynamic lines. This is a technique I've talked about before on my Instagram, and it's a very, very interesting technique that you use to add motion and depth to your design. And it's really about using lines with varying width. If you look closely at this line, you would notice that it's thick on this side, it's thick right here, but when it comes down to this side, it tapers off a bit. All of this technique is used to create depth in logo designs. And you would notice that it's used in AT&T logo, it's used in this Sony television logo right here, and also in this, for the most part, to try to make sure that, like, if you want to create a sense of motion in your logo, apart from trying to skew it like this, you can also use dynamic lines to intensify that motion. That is the cheat code. Like, if you want to add motion to your design, figure out a way to bring in dynamic lines and to just work. It almost works like magic. So I'm going to go on to the next next slide. The next is called transition, right? And this is about like just going from one state to another. This is mostly used in like manufacturing industries. You know, there are some industries where they try to create a whole final product from raw materials. So if you have like manufacturing industries, production industries, industries where they try to make final product from just basic things, this is a great technique to use. For this, you notice that they use this half tone effect. From circles, it goes on to a whole drop of water. And this is just great for like maybe some kind of pure water business or things like that. It could work, right? This I did for a recent personal project that I worked on. And sometimes you can also use it to create depth, because with this, it looks like a walking path that's going into the distance right here. So I'm just going to go on to this right here. The thing about creating logos with this technique, this transition technique, is the fact that you don't necessarily have to go from small to big. Just by changing the form from a square to a circle, they have created that movement already. Just by changing the shade, like you can go from 100% black to 100% gray just to create that movement in the logo, right? And maybe if you want to intensify that sometimes, like for this, I can just bring this to this side and create that movement a little more. And you can see that, okay, this logo kind of goes from a solid state to something that is looking a bit more vaporized in a way, right? I'm just going to move on to the next one. Sorry, I'm rushing. I have a lot to cover. Like we still have like practical things that we're going to work on. But for this is my favorite of them all. I love this technique because it's easy, it's kind of self-working, it kind of produces results with very, very little effort in a way. So this is called rotational technique. Remember, we're still on form making techniques, and I'm just going to be showing you all of this technique. At the end of the day, we're going to work on something so that it can be as a refresher for all of this technique, right? So for this, it's just really about having one unit of the design and just applying the radial effect on it. Lucky for us this period, we have softwares that have this function built into them, and it's just easy. At the click of a button, we can create all of this effect. That is what this effect is about, and it's really great if you want to create like memorable logo, if you want to create logos that feels like they are self-generating, logos that feels like they are self-enabling and things like that, like self-sufficient companies. It's really a nice technique to like use. For this, you can see that this is for like a wind turbine company. And if you look closely, they're not just applying the rotational technique. It's not just the rotational technique that's going on here. We also have the dynamic lines, because if I isolate this one, sorry, let me do this. If I isolate this line right here, you see that it goes from thick to thin. That is the dynamic line technique that we talked about right here. So that is like, you know, speaking back to the fact that you don't necessarily have to just focus on one of these techniques to create a logo. You can like combine the transitional with the rotation, and everything just works together perfectly to create the logo that you want for the business. So I'm just going to go to repetition. And the thing with repetition is just using simple font to create patterns. It's mostly used in like manufacturing industry, production industry, and industries where you need to develop a modular system. And some of these industries are like the architectural firms, the interior design firms, firms where you need to create something that can work in different configurations. That is what repetition and tessellation helps us with. And this technique is really great for all those industries because for the most part, these are like architectural firms. They need to be like solid. They need to feel like, okay, they are strong enough to like handle certain projects. So that is what this technique is used for. Really, really great for interior design firms too. I'm just going to go to the next. The next is negative space. And this is a really great technique because it almost feels like you're getting more for less. It's great if you want to combine two design ideas together. Now, like if you look at this, or let's not do that. Let's do this. We can see that in the outer circumference of the logo, there's a C right there, and in the negative space, we have an H. Just imagine wanting to combine them like just side by side. That's just a lot of space to cover. But then putting the H in the counter space just makes it feel like, okay, we are being wise with the space that we are giving. And it just gives the logo like some kind of perceived value in a way. The fact that we're using less ink to create the logo gives the logo a perceived value. For this is like for like a stamp metal company right here. And you can see like, apart from having a directional arrow to it, there's also like a perforated circle in the center. And it's just great to just combine those two ideas together because it just works perfectly for a stamp metal company. For this right here, this is for like a chemical company that combines the B and the round bottom flask. For this right here, we have an M that combines two ducks or two birds. There are just so many different things you can combine, and just finding the right balance between these things make them work perfectly to create a logo. That's the negative space technique. I'm just going to go on to the next. We're going to do a little exercise, right? Let me just type in the brand name so that we can go through it. The brand we're going to just be using as a case study today is called Lafarge. We all know Lafarge. They're like, okay, let me not say we all know Lafarge. Some of us know Lafarge. So it's like a cement company, and they provide cement to construction workers and companies that need those services. We're going to create figurative, typographic, dynamic, translational, rotational logos for this Lafarge, and just seeing how this technique is put into work will help you understand it a bit better. So for Lafarge, we know that, okay, they are like a cement company, and they try to, help provide the adhesive between two blocks. So we can just, if we want to be figurative with the logo, we can just have a square and just create just the basic form of a block right here. This is just the most basic form of a block, and we can have this as a logo. That is using the figurative technique, right? My stuff is not perfect, but let's just go. Let's just go. That is the figurative technique. Sorry, this bothers me. Let me just fix this. So this right here is the figurative technique. And after this, we're going to go to the typographic technique, all still using the same brand, Lafarge, so that we get to understand this technique a bit better. I'm just going to move this over to its box. So something I didn't mention is that I already have boxes created. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, with the legend right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are going to be making those relationships by yourself, and you'll be able to figure it out. So for the Lafarge, we want to make a typographic logo for it. We know that, okay, the brand first letter is letter L, and we know that what their product does is help combine two blocks together. So we can figure out a way to bring in a block and an L together. We can use the negative space technique to bring in an L into the counter space right here. Or what you can do in order to just show the strength of the brand, in order to show how strong it is, we can just make, an L with some very, very strong proportions here. This is a very strong proportion because if I want to make an L that is like, okay, with normal proportion, I would just do something like this. This is an L with a normal proportion, but if we want it to look strong, we can just do this, right? So this is a typographic logo for Lafarge, right? If we want to create a Lafarge logo with dynamic lines, we can just still bring in the Lafarge logo. I'm going to go to my dynamic slide right here. I'll just copy these lines and move over to that slide. Okay. Okay, right here. So we already have this as a base typographic logo for Lafarge. We want to create one with dynamic lines, a Lafarge that have motion. We have that one, or oh my God. We have that one already. I'm just going to create the dynamic lines from scratch. Right here, I'm just going to double that. So what we're going to do here is just create a Lafarge logo that has motion. So behind it, you can just bring in that motion arrows that we talked about in the earlier slides. And we discover that, okay, this is another interpretation of that same logo, right? These are techniques that you can apply on your day-to-day logo explorations. And it just gives you different options to tap into. And if you want to intensify this motion a little more, you can bring it and just figure out a way to like skew it forward and just add to the overall design. Remember, what we're trying to do is just figuring out ways to move the design forward. That is what all this technique is about. It's just about having them in the repertoire. I think Layer calls it like a soft repository, something you can pull up anytime you need something to move forward, or anytime you're stuck, anytime you need a nudge to take a design further, right? So I'm just going to go on to the next. This is called translational. And for translational, it's easy. Our softwares have made this thing so easy. Like we can just put in a box right here, and then someone saying something. Okay, let me go on. So we have a box right here, and we're just going to blend between those boxes. So with Illustrator, we can easily just blend between those, and it's really easy to create these things. I'm just going to reduce those instances to this. I think we're cool. And this is Lafarge logo interpreted as this technique, translational, right? The next technique we're going to be talking about is rotational, my favorite of them all, because it's kind of self-working. You just apply the function to it, and you turn, figure out ways to like create something interesting. So for the fifth technique, that is rotation, we're going to go to, where is it? Repeat function, apply radial, and let me just bring down this distance to this, and we start figuring out ways to like create an interesting formation right here. I think this is cool. This is cool, an interesting interpretation of, I'm not saying these are great logo for Lafarge. I'm just showing you guys the technique at work, just so that you'll be able to apply it in your day-to-day explorations and design projects. So the next one we're going to do is repetition and tessellation. We're just going to take something we have done before. Remember, this technique is used for like architectural firm, manufacturing industries, where you need to have a logo that looks strong and instill that confidence in customers that, okay, we can produce whatever it is that you want produced, right? So repetition and tessellation is just about, you have this unit right here. What I want to do is just repeat and repeat, and we have something that looks interesting, something that could probably work for like an interior design firm too, like those kind of firms where they need all those modular systems. And remember, I talked about modular systems. Modular systems are like systems that like, okay, we have this configuration, but then I want to be able to reconfigure it in a different way where it serves a different need. Those are modular systems. So I'm going to go to the next technique, and that's the seventh one, negative space. Lucky enough, we already have number 5. that already has a secondary motif, which is the star in the negative space right here. And that is that about like form making techniques. These are things that we should know. It just adds to your toolbox. It helps you get unstuck when you're stuck in logo design. It helps you generate more interesting ideas. And like I said before, like you can combine 1 and 3 to create something interesting. You can combine 6 and 4. 6 is repetition and tessellation. You can combine it with translation or transition to create unique ideas, right? You can compound all these things together to create interesting forms. So that is the one I learned from Richard Bird. I'm going to go on to this one that I've been gathering for a while. Like if you were in the beginning stage of the call, I talked about some techniques that I've been gathering for like 2-3 years. And what I want to do at the end of the day with this is somehow create some kind of a formula that we can apply to logo icons to just create different iterations of that icons. It's more like a mental checklist. This is still very long for a mental checklist. So it's still very rude. It's still very crude. It's still very raw. We still need to like touch it up, kind of put it into some little acronyms. But I'm going to go through all of these things. I think this is the last slide before I'm done. I'm going to go through all of these things and just show you how it works. So let's just say we landed on a logo that looks like this. Probably like something I've seen before. I'm just going to create something generic. Let's say this. We landed on this, right? And we feel like, oh, we probably want to move this a bit further. I want to see what we can generate from just this basic idea. I'm going to run through this entire list, all still focusing on this basic idea. This is going to be the ground zero of this idea, and we're just going to build from that, right? Let's say this is called Smart Code. Let's just say some kind of dev ops company, right? So this is Smart Code. Let me just increase the font. I don't like this font. Give me a second. Let me look for my trusted Helvetica. All right, so we have that. Now we're going to go through all of these techniques by using this icon. So the first one is open up enclosed spaces, right? This is the first one right here. Open up enclosed spaces. I'm just going to take this logo right here and just have a rectangle that I can move around. And you can see that from this idea that we have here, we can create more iterations of that same idea by just opening up enclosed spaces. I can bring this to this side also. And you see that we have a circle in the center, and we also have a secondary motif of an S, which is the first letter of the company right there. Another way to do this technique is to bring this outside like this, and we probably want to do something like this, and we're already generating another different idea from the base idea that we have right here. The second one we want to do is skew the form. So the thing is that I call this pushing and pulling because you never really know what you're going to get. You're just trying to push the design, like I said, to try to figure out something more distinct from what you have as the initial design. So the next I have is called skew the form. So we just take this and just skew it and see if we have anything interesting from there. I don't like this. This doesn't work. But then let's say we want to leave that circle and skew the square alone. We already have something interesting right there. The next one we're going to go is puker and bloat. It's an illustrative function that we can use to create interesting ideas too, right? I can just go to effects, distort and transform, puker and bloat, and we see that when we just move the slider, we're already creating something interesting. We're already creating interesting forms. I don't know why this is together. Let me ungroup this and let me ungroup this, right? So I can just select this outer square and apply my effect. Sorry, 1 second. Apply my effect, right? So we have this, I think this idea works, so we'll just keep this. The next technique we are going to be um, exploring is called rotated. Remember, all of these things are still like, I just had to pull it from my notepad like days ago just to put it together and see what we have. It's still going to be worked on further. I'm still going to figure out ways to create an acronym from this. This is still very, very long for a mental checklist. I still need to strip this down a lot more. But then I just want to just show you guys something that you can, still have in that same toolbox, because the idea is just having techniques that you can pull out at any time. That is what a magician does. A magician literally have tricks off their cap, like you don't know what they're going to pull out. So the more you have, the more you're able to like wow clients, wow, even yourself sometimes. So the next is rotated. I'm just going to take this and literally just rotate it. See if we have anything interesting there, or it can even be this. Remember, it's almost like you have limitless possibilities, because you can almost take anyone and try to figure out what is going to happen if you rotate it, right? And that this is the way I iterate. I'll be very completely honest with all of you guys. Like, this is the way I go through options really fast. And if you're in an agency setting, I've never worked in an agency before, but I know in agencies you need to work really fast. The next is diagonal slice and offset. That's number 5. So I'm just going to pick, let's still go to our base idea and want to diagonal slice and offset. So the idea of diagonal slice and offset is just running a line through the shape like this. Since we have a stroke there, I'm just going to expand the entire thing and use my shape builder tool to separate everything. I'm going to ungroup everything. So we have different shape for all of these things. So we have sliced the entire thing with that diagonal slice. What we're going to do is just offset it. Do we have anything interesting? Does smart code still work with this? I don't know. But the thing is that we are still pushing and pulling our base idea. They are still trying to figure out if you can take this a little further, right? Even with this, you can flip it, or let's go to the next. The next is 6, reverse and flip elements, right? I can just take this. Let's see if we can push this a little further again. I want to reverse and flip elements. So I can just come to my Illustrator function here, flip it, see if I can take this and probably straighten it a bit to see if there's anything interesting there. Does it still work for smart code? I don't know. The thing is that we just want to just move the design forward, move the logo design forward, right? What we can even do with this, we remember we had rotational in the beginning. I can just take this basic idea right here and apply our radial function to it. And see if we have anything interesting right there that we can just put in the counter space. I don't know. I don't think this works for smart code. It doesn't work for smart code, but we're just still trying to iterate on that one same idea. Remember, the idea is just building your soft repository, just building that sense of trying to push the design further. And if you want to be able to push the design further and iterate faster, all of these techniques, you just have to have them in your repertoire, right? So I'm just going to go to the next one, break the symmetry. Now, break the symmetry is all about, let me just go back to our base idea, bring our base idea out here. Most of the design we work on or we create, we discover that if we run a line through the entire thing, you'll discover that the visual weight of what's on the right is the same as what's on the left. The volume of what's on the right is the same as what's on the left. That means this logo right here is symmetrical. Another way that we can actually probably try to push a design forward is try to break the symmetry. I'm just going to select those 2 anchor points right there and just break it up a bit. We can literally do it to any one of them. Remember, this is something you can keep doing and just trying to see what you can create. There's no timeline to this thing. Like, if you want to be able to iterate faster, you need to know all of these techniques. Just have a lot of them in your toolbox. The next one, flourishes and ligature. I don't know if we know what flourishes are, but let me look for a different font right here just to explain what flourishes are. So this font, I don't know what this is, but if you look at this font, you will see, um, just give me a second. You'll see this extension right here. All of this kind of like this, all of these things are just going out of the C like this. Those are what's called flourishes. And sometimes it connects with the other letter like this. These are ligatures too, right? In logo design, we can employ that kind of idea too. Let me show you. So we have this idea right here. I'm just going to break this down. And what I want to do is remove these circles and just apply that idea of flourishes and just extending things beyond their limits in logo design. So I'm just going to add an anchor point right here, add another one, and I will select both and delete. Remember, flourishes are just like extensions created in typography, like the example I showed to you guys recently. What I can just do to this idea is move this, um, move this forward like this, and maybe move this backward. And we already have another logo option, all still generated from our same primary idea from this beginning. This is where all of this is being generated from, right? So I'm just going to, let's go further. I think we can still create more ideas based on this flourish because the possibilities are actually so much more than what I just did just now. I can create something like this, maybe move this down, move this here. With this, if you want to even take this further, we still have rotated right here. So we can just take that same idea and probably rotate it to something. This is even making like a face, I think. So we can even have something like this. And we're already creating something that looks interesting, right? Maybe if it's already looking like an animal. We're already creating something that looks interesting. I'm just quickly going to go to the next technique because we don't have so much time. Isometrize it. I don't have time to create an isometric grid, but we all know the concept of isometry. That's just like creating 3D forms in 2D by just skewing the angle to either 60 degrees or 120 degrees. So I'm just going to do a very, very rough representation of that, just so we have the basic idea going on. So we have this. I'm just going to group that, and I'm going to flip to the other side, right? I just try to create an isometric grid. And let me still pick this from the beginning. And we're just going to just skew it into, we're going to skew it into position right here. Nope. I hope you guys are still with me. I know I've been talking a lot. Okay, so this is that technique being used, isometrize it. The next one is double the stroke. So I'm just going to go to our initial design. Remember, we are still working on the same idea from the beginning. All we're trying to do, push and pull the design to generate more ideas. So we have this. I'm just going to copy that stroke, paste it in place, and then what I said was double the stroke. So the stroke that we have here, we just want to make it look like there are two lines. So I'm just going to select C and F. I'm going to bring it down and then make it look like the line is double. And this is another logo idea. I don't like the proportions, but let's go. That is one. Then there's one called inverse symmetry. I don't know if I can remember what this is, but the thing with inverse symmetry is that, remember what I said about symmetrical forms? They are the same in terms of volume on the right side and on the left side. But what we're going to do with this is just invert that symmetry. So I'm going to group this. I'm going to bring in like just a rectangle, and I'll create a clipping mask. The thing with that, with this is that we already have this shape. All I need to do is try to inverse that symmetry and see if there's anything interesting that we have that we can come up with here. right? I'm going to go to the next. That's called negative space. That's easy. If we have an interesting form that we feel like works, we can just bring that in, maybe put it in a circle, put it behind. What we're going to do is select both and expand that shape. I hope that, okay, there might be corridor people here. I don't know if you guys will be able to follow with this because I'm using Illustrator. But all of this technique, I believe, can be reproduced in, in CorelDRAW also. So this is for negative space, right? I really like this logo right here. It's interesting. The next is crop and punching. The thing with crop and punching is that it's really interesting because you never really know what you're going to get. So I already have this logo shape right here. I'm going to bring in like a square. This is going to be our digital device that we're going to be using to find interesting shapes, right? Let me show you how we're going to do it. I'm going to change this to white, flip this over, and then create just a crazy shape. What the shape is going to do is going to be our viewfinder. I don't know if you guys play all those games where you have a scope and the viewfinder is there. So this is going to be our viewfinder. I'm going to be using it to be finding interesting shapes in that our base idea. Remember, I'm just showing you guys technique today. If any of you guys came here for like processes, how to hold discovery section, I'm not trying to do all of those today. I'm just trying to do the technical stuff. So we can just move this around, try to see if we can see anything interesting in that base form that we've created, right? If we land on something that is interesting, you can always, expand on that, maybe take it through this process again, skew it, apply the rotational, apply all of this technique I've gone through. I feel like this is an interesting shape, so we can probably maybe expand this down a bit. I don't know how this is going to work for a smart code or a company that is called smart code. Maybe if we expand this and remove all those shapes, we probably can create an S from that. I'm just quickly going to do that and see what it looks like. Sorry for this detour. I'm not crazy about this. Let's go to the next. So we have that technique. The next is running dynamic lines through. The thing about this is we already have discussed about dynamic lines and how we can use that to impute a sense of motion, a sense of depth, and all those things. You can also like just run that through the shape. So we have this right here. I'm just going to increase the width, and we have a second iteration right here, and we'll just blend between and see what we're going to get. Blend. Okay. So this is just a little rendering technique that we can use to see what we can generate, right? So that's it. We can even inverse it. Let's say we want the circle to have that, what's this? Let's say we want the circle to have that dynamic lines instead. We can just move this to the back and maybe, I don't know why I can't select. This is interesting. Just give me a second. I'm going to figure this out. Okay, so it's a stroke, that's why. So I'm just going to make this a whole shape. And then if we want to inverse this, we can bring this forward. And the dynamic lines is running through the circle instead of this. I feel like I can take this a bit further. Instead of trying to make an S on that, we can run our radial function, our rotation through it. Let's see if we have anything interesting. Okay, let's just decrease the instance of that. Remember, we are just pushing and pulling, so it's not going to happen instantly. With the more time you actually do this thing, the more you kind of get to the result a bit faster. We're just trying to figure out ways we can make this actually work. Okay, let's leave it like this. Let me go to the next. Combine half of two different ideas. This one is interesting It produces sometimes, it doesn't produce sometimes. But the thing is that we already have all of these ideas here. We can just pick this and say we want to combine it with half of this right here. So I can just cut this into half and see if we have any interesting composition that is going on here. If we can generate anything interesting from that. So that is combine half of two different ideas. Then another is coming out of the portal. I'm just going to bring this up here. And just create something that feels like it's coming out of the rectangular shape, right? So I'm just going to select both of them, expand, right? And then I think I can just create this negative shape right here. And it feels like it's coming out of something, right? And even this one, we can also do it in another way where we can just have a rectangle right here that forms something like a shadow and see if it's actually looking like it's coming out of something. I don't know if this still works for smart code. We don't know. We're just still going to be iterating further. Remember, trying to push the design forward. We are almost there. We have like 4 or 3 more remaining. The next is move random anchor points around. So we're just going to, let's take this, or let's take this. We're just going to just try to see if we can have an interesting shape from these things. Just moving anchor points around, seeing if we can land on something interesting. It's almost like a game of luck or like a game where you need to figure something out, right? I think this is an interesting shape right here. And then the next, the first letter of a brand plus the brand purpose, right? We know that Smart Code Company is like a DevOps firm and stuff like that. So we know that the first letter S, we can use something like, you know, these, I don't know what they call these things in development, but we can use those to like try to see if we can form the first letter of the alphabet and see if it actually works for the brand. I'm just going to go to the next. I'm already getting a little tired, but we're going to run through this. The next is split logo and offsets. I don't know if I'm going to remember this one. Split logo and offsets. I can't remember that. Let's just go to the next. Skew logo to force perspective. That's another technique. I'm going to just take this and then I'm going to expand. And then with this skew, we're going to make this look like it's in like some kind of perspective. And in a way, we can use this to create depth and just create something that feels larger than life, right? So something like this. So that is the entire thing for now. I'm still going to go through, I'm still going to vet, I'm going to send this to a few friends to see which one that, okay, which one is worth keeping in, which one is worth, you know, taking out, which one is worth like trying out to kind of iterate further on a design. And I'm going to figure out a way to bring this down to some kind of formula that we can apply and put it out there for everybody to make use of. And that's my time. I think I've taken more than an hour. I'm so sorry for taking your Friday night. That's supposed to be our Friday night. My name remains Sani Joseph Omeiza. I like to be called Joe. And if you're interested in seeing a little more of my work and what I do, I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of like logo design on Instagram. I'm on Behance. I do a lot of like identities, not a lot. I'm not so active on Behance, but I post some fully fledged identity work on Behance. On YouTube, Joe is on YouTube. I create a lot of 3D art just to be able to be a better 3D artist. And then on Twitter, not so active. Joey out there, and you can find me on this platform. Thank you guys so much. I hope if I swipe, I won't see 20-something people still online, but I really want to appreciate everybody for running through this with me. And thank you so much. That is my time.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you so
I'm
much,
sure
Joe.
this must have felt like an information overload because I was just looking,
we
man.
needed we needed it, to be honest. We
Yeah,
needed it. So for a few minutes we're going to open up question lines. While you're on the radio, so we're going to open up the lines up for your calls, right? So that's what we're gonna do now. I see some hands have been raised quite a number of times. So do you guys have some questions or you just wanted to say something? So I'm going to go in order of what I see here. So I see Sharon Ariyo Adeoye. Please go first. You can ask your question. After that,
All right.
Chijoke is
Thank
gonna
you.
go.
All right. Thank you. I'm just here. I don't have a question. I'm just here to say that Joe Omeiza. I hope I'm not butchering your name.
yeah,
I'm
but
just here to say that.
it's fine though. It's fine.
I'm just here to say that you're exactly think you are. Like I'm not a designer. I came from Bolu's newsletter and I just wanted to see like I have interest. I design with Canva, which is
Yeah.
like basic. But, like just being here, seeing how the whole process is, and I think that when I came like when I got the email of this event happening, I went to your Instagram. I checked your Instagram. I was first struck by your logo. But when I checked the inspiration behind the logo, I was like, who is this guy? And now I am here. I waited from the beginning of this call to the end, and I'm like, this is insane. Like this is insane work. And I just want to say that you're exactly who you think you are. Well done. This like I'm not even a designer and I'm this blown away so that this is amazing work. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for giving us time out of your busy schedule to actually come here and just like do your thing. This is like genius work. I'm not even going to lie, this is genius work. So well done. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate we really appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Like,
Amazing.
I don't know if you know how much I really needed this. I really needed this because Bolu can testify to how much I've been like pushing back, thinking if I was ready for this. So Sharon, you just saying that actually means so much to me. Like there have been doubts. They've been
Take
like,
it.
well, I felt like okay, I don't know if I'll be able to do
That,
this,
don't be
but
that
thank you,
inside the ocean. This is great
thank
work.
you.
Well done. Well done. You know you're on your so well. Well
All
done.
right.
Oli, thank you so much for
Marvelous.
bringing
You're welcome. I can feel the excitement in your voice so loudly. Thank you, Sharon. It's a pleasure to have you here, actually. We have about 7 hands raised. Joe, I'm going to call this the Joe effect from now on, if that's okay. Thank you, Sharon, for that very warm comment. Joe, thank you so much as well. So I'm going to go to Chijoke. I said Chijoke was going to go next, but I can't see his hands raised anymore. So, well, I don't know if he's still interested in speaking, but Ajayi Oluwatoyese, please go ahead. Okay, he has dropped it too. Temilade Adekpigba.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Uh,
can. Okay, Ajayi, you
Wow.
can. Right.
okay. Yeah, this is Vlad here. So,
Ah,
my man,
I
bro,
know you, bro.
I know you too, man. You know, like I've always said, you've always been amazing right from day one. Like you just needed to put it out there. And this is you putting it out there. The funniest thing is some of these methods I used to do, but I never just knew the name. I just used to carry the logo around and just try to. But you've put a name to it. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being like a mentor to the upcoming generation. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being amazing. Thank you for being a great mentor. You know, there's few people that can do logos and that can teach at the same time. I can teach. I can design logos, but that teaching, you've got everything, man. So look, you were born to do this. You were born to be amazing. You were born to be the best of the best. And I'm super proud of you. See, in fact, if you tell me if a company is even offering 5 million for a logo, I should even punch them because you are worth more than that, bro. Like legit, legit. And this is me speaking from the heart, legit.
Nice, nice. Like I said, it's the Joe effect. Joe, take it, take it. All right. Amazing, amazing. So Similade is going to go now.
All right, thank you very much. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, so I really want to appreciate Joe for this. It's like a little masterclass actually, because there was one time he
Yeah,
posted one of his videos on Instagram, and I actually want to appreciate you too for organizing this, Miss Bolu, because it's actually a very insightful moment. For the past 1 hour, I've
thank
been
you.
here. I actually set an alarm that Joe is coming. I must be here. I set an alarm because I saw the
Nice.
mail and it was like, if you are 100, you will not be able to accept it. I said no, I must
No
be part of the
space.
first
Yeah, there are many
20.
people on YouTube right now.
I was part of the first 20, and I made sure that I had good network so I don't just go off and I don't miss to be
Nice,
on the live session. So I really want to appreciate
nice.
Joe. There was one time he posted his process on Instagram and it was just
Mm-hmm.
creating multiple logos. And I was like, what's the trick to this? Well, I need to be in this class. And I really want to
Yeah,
appreciate you. There was one time I entered your I sent you a DM. I said I want to learn from you, but you said you're not taking classes. And this opportunity, that's why I said this is like a master class. This is like
yeah,
learning from you without actually getting to pay you, and you are showing
yeah,
us your process, and it's actually very crazy, and it's a very good experience for me, and I think my mind is blown. I've learned new stuffs, and because I actually I'm going through a block like this to create a logo, and I just as I saw that it was a logo ideating class, I said no, I have to be here. I have to be part of this, and it is Joe Agba, like as they. So thank you very much. I don't really have a question because any question that I could have had, you've explained them already throughout trying to explain your process and trying to
No,
explain the one you've learned and
ask
everything. I don't know because I don't know the question I'm going to ask you.
thanks, man. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much for this class. Thank you, Miss Bolu, for organizing this, and I hope that we get to learn
you're
more from
welcome.
you, Mr. Joe. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's all
You're
from my end.
welcome.
Thank you.
I never really knew what I was going to expect from this doing it for the first time. Like I was open, but I just didn't know.
Yeah,
The point
I
that's
told you now.
because it's like tears was coming out, but this is
It's
very
flowed.
rewarding.
It's flowed.
It
We
feels
enjoyed.
it
I
feels
enjoyed the class. Well done, sir.
This is what I've
Thank
been hiding from us, Joe.
thank,
Go down.
thank
you.
you guys.
Exactly. Thank you so much, man. Thanks for the
Let's just let's
audience.
not
I told you. I told
hands.
you. I thought it's gonna be a blast. I told you.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
what's more than that? Like all of this. Yeah, I'm alright. Please go ahead, take the mic.
Hi Joe, hi Bolu. Thank you for this opportunity
Hi,
again. I
Hey, bro.
never
thank
miss any
you.
session. So I don't know
Hi.
if Joe remembers me,
Yeah.
Malt Innovation on Instagram. So
Ooh, that's my
when I
boy.
open my notepad,
I remember you, bro.
exactly. When I open my notepad to like take the notes, right beside my notepad, I'm just going to like um sorry, I'm trying to switch my camera. This is where NYC gave me. So if you can see this, this is
I remember our phone.
20th of 20th of June
June.
2024 and session with Joe Meza. And now right beside it, brand easy logo design with Joe Meza. So what to bring out from this is that Joe and Bolu number one, and then Joe have influenced my being a brand designer. Yeah, because Bolu is really the reason why I went into brand designing. Since my encounter with her at Make Music
Wow.
Lagos, I've just said, okay, what is this branding thing about? I want to do it.
Ah,
And
nice.
at the top of my career, I'm always going to mention Bolu and Joe. And I really appreciate you guys for this. And thank you so much.